Hello, good evening, and you're very welcome to the Town End Podcast. It's season 3, episode 12. Well, Dundalk made a real tough task of that tonight at Tolka, and to go through that tonight is Gally. So far, how are you, Gally?
Fix minded.
Yeah. It's worse when I predict the right score at the start.
That is worse. That's the sickening part of it tonight.
Yeah.
Joe, way more than that stupid league we have going. It's a stupid fucking game in here.
Who likes it? Who likes it? Gally, we'll start way back at the very start. We had 3 changes in at the very start on this. So Alfie Lewis comes in, Ili Coco comes in, and Tulloch starts. Obviously, with Williams being suspended, McCourt, Boyle, Sloggett all injured, these changes were bound to happen. Were we just surprised that after, a good 20 minutes against Derry that Pat didn't start?
Yeah, we kind of we said it last week, and I keep coming on to this pod and saying, I keep coming on to it like I'm a guest. I keep coming we keep saying, he should, if he's fit, if he's fit, he should start. And for me, like I said I said the exact same thing, not last week, I missed last week, but the week before, a 50% Pat Hooban is better than 90%, 99% of the strikers in the league. So I would have thought, and I was saying it to someone before the game on Instagram, I would have thought that if you're going to Tolka Park away from home, let's get at them early. So let's try and get this game done. Let's get Pat Hooban running at them early, put them on there, because Paddy Barrett needs a Pat Hooban on him. You see Paddy Barrett in a lineup, Pat Hooban's got to be played. It's like running into a wall, but Pat Hooban's a man to deal with him. And I just thought that tonight he could have started, and that's not hindsight, that's before the game. There's nothing worse than seeing Pat Hooban's name on the bench and he's not taken to the field. And especially, it'd be different if you're getting away with results. The draw tonight, we haven't gotten away with it. It's poor, but injuries aside, the boys who step into these, and I said this, I keep repeating this, it's like go back to the time of Filippo and Vinny Pear take 2. You've got to step up to the players. These boys are training full time. I know you've got a couple of 19s on it, but they're probably the fittest 19s in the league. League of Ireland 19s now of first time. If you go back 10, 15 years ago, they're as fit as full-time footballers then. That's the level that's required. When you go down, I know we're missing, I think the number's probably half a dozen, are we? And then one suspension.
Yeah.
You're struggling when Robbie Benson's got to drop from midfield into left back. Now he can play left back. Robbie can play anywhere, but when you've got nobody to come in and play at left back, and you have to drop whatever with the Pat Hooban situation, we have other strikers, but when you've got nobody to replace the likes of a left back, or even when Robbie's come out of midfield tonight, we haven't replaced them either. But without waffling, the likes of Pat Hooban sitting on the bench, I would have no hesitation. When you've got 5 subs to make, I have no hesitation making a sub after 12 minutes. When you're watching that game, and especially when we talk about the penalty later on, but you just knew it wasn't going to be the night when we missed the penalty. It just was. It didn't have that air. And it was going to be tough. A lot of the predictions we got on our Instagram page tonight was a win for Shelbourne. That just tells you what's happened in the last couple of weeks. I was generous, probably going for a 2-2 draw myself, but I was secretly thinking, look, if they can come out with any kind of draw, we'll be doing all right. But yeah, look, it's just sometimes it baffles me when you're going for games and you're in a bit of a rut. The likes of Pat Hooban can't be sitting on the bench. I don't know what his fitness levels are like, but if he's fit enough for the bench, he's got to be starting. There's no real. Look at John.
You'd prefer to have Pat in, though, get his impact for the hour or something and get him back out again, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I would have preferred, personally myself, I would have preferred to get him in, get him on, tire those centre halves out early doors, and then they come out for the second half, and then maybe, even if you take him off at half time, hopefully he'd have done all the damage in the first half. Look, we'll never know now, but for me, bringing him on, look, it's sometimes it baffles me. And look, maybe it's just frustration because of the result, but for me, he starts every, like I said about Greg Sloggett as well, unless he's on crutches, they start. I just don't get it. I just don't. Look, who am I to be talking? But yeah, he's got to start.
But then what a start to the match. We win our third penalty of the season. For me, it looked like a stonewall penalty. I know at half time they were trying to go through it and say maybe there was a touch from Andrew Quinn just before the tackle, but in a split second, you're a referee and you have to make that decision. It's a penalty all day.
Replays are great for that, but I mean, you cannot blame the referee for, we could talk about the other one, but I mean, for the one we got, 99% of referees will give that. Like that's, I don't think there's much argument with it. What went on afterwards was even crazier, but
so Shane Farrell has a moment of madness and decides to punch Wardy.
I don't know how, I haven't seen the replay of the punch because no joke, I went out to boil the kettle when the penalty was given, and I come back in and we're down to, and I was like, he hardly got a red card for the tackle. I didn't know what was happening. But I don't know how much contact he's made with Wardy, but Wardy's definitely
there was plenty.
Yeah, and it's right, it's literally under the nose of the referee.
This is the thing. It's so the ref gives the penalty. He's pretty much standing on the penalty spot. Shane Farrell comes over to stand on the penalty spot, not to allow the penalty to happen and to remonstrate at the ref. Wardy comes over to push him out of the way to get the ball onto the penalty spot. And he decides to smack Wardy on the head right in front of the referee.
And it's not like Ward. It's not like, you would have seen players over the years like a Killian Bryan, and even Richie Towell would have done it. It's not like he's gone to wind the player up. He's just gone to let's get this on, let's get this penalty happening. And he's just absolutely smacked the chops off him for whatever. It was just such a crazy thing to do. And I actually thought when it was happening after I had heard the red card in the car, I thought it was Paddy Barrett that was sent off. I thought, Paddy's at it again. But it was just a crazy. I'd be interested to hear Damien Duff after, but I don't think it's a moment of madness. It really is. You're giving the ref. There is no decision for the ref to make there. It's a very simple, straightforward card. You're taking all kind of elements of didn't he out of it. It's just so stupid. It's not even off the ball. It's right in front of him.
And then I suppose we're talking about you start Pat, and you. When you get a penalty like that, then now you're also thinking, right, who's going to actually hit this penalty because Pat's not there. And I know, you could say Pat hasn't had, he's missed the penalty this year already against UCD. We've Tulloch missed the penalty recently, but scored a rebound.
Yeah, and just about scored a rebound as well.
comes into the same club now as well with another missed penalty. 3 penalties, none of them scored, Gally. That's a poor return.
I actually, do you know what? Until you said it, I actually forgot we've missed the last 2 penalties. I completely I'd erased. I know Tulloch had scored from the rebound, but it's still a missed penalty. I actually thought Alfie Lewis.
No penalty scored this year.
Yeah, I actually thought. I thought Alfie Lewis would have took it. He's that type of player now. But look, I mean,
Wardy.
Yeah, I mean that's these type of players. Even Mali, I'd assume these boys. If you're taking set pieces, you're normally the one that's kind of standing over a penalty. Obviously, Hubin's missing, but.
But when Robbie stood up, I had no problem with him taking it.
No, absolutely not.
We've seen Robbie there for big moments before.
I said this the year we didn't have Robbie Benson when he's at Pats. On the ball in midfield, there's nobody better on the ball than Robbie Benson in the league. I don't care about Jack Bourne. When he's on it, there's nobody as good a touch of a ball as Robbie Benson. So there was no fear of him taking a penalty. He's hit it really well, I suppose. Any other
Did he though? It wasn't in a corner.
But even 99% of goalkeepers would have dived. If a goalkeeper dives it straight in the middle. But what really annoyed me was he'd stood, and Benson still went right there. He'd stood and told him. He was really telling him where to hit it. No, look, we're going to look at it. We're going to look back at it and think it's a shock. It's probably a clean strike, but you're right. You got to be going when a keeper starts putting his hand up in the air, and this is what he's looking for. You got to be saying, you got to call his bluff and hit the side net. It's the side net on the inside, obviously, not the fucking inside.
We get a penalty early in the game. They get a player sent off.
Yeah,
you go and you score that. They're never coming back from this. I don't think because it's a double blow, isn't it?
Yeah,
you got a player down and you're a goal down.
Save. Yeah, absolutely. Even. That would have completely taken the wind out of their sails. And then, even what's even worse again is if you take the flip side of that conversation, Moylan goes down the field later on and doesn't chip Shepherd.
Yeah.
But if he does, Shelbourne probably win the game because that would have given them that little bit of more energy. They went in at half. We were blessed getting to half time. But if he chips that in, on a devil's advocate side of that, if he puts that in, they probably go and win the game maybe 2 or 3-0. And that's and I know it's 10 men, and that might be sounding a wee bit mad, but that momentum, I think the penalty miss gave them that little bit of impetus to say, because Lisa Fallon had called it, 10 men's very difficult to play against. They were taking this time out of the game, taking the kind of buzz out of the game with the ball, and they've done it to an absolute T. Damien Duff would be he'd probably known Damien, he'd probably be, well, not knowing Damien, but knowing his interviews, he'd probably be disappointed he didn't win it. But I mean, a draw after being down so long for 10 men. But we can't give up. So like when you get an opportunity of a penalty on the run that we're on, and you don't score, it must be very difficult for players to kind of get themselves up, even if they're down to 10 men. It must be very difficult, even for Shad on the sideline, to get these lads motivated. I don't know what he said. I don't know what you're saying at halftime, but I mean, for me, the big turning point of the game was Moylan's actual the miss, the one that they didn't chip Shepherd for. I think if they score there, that game is over. I just think Dundalk.
What about Paddy Barrett's goal not soon after the penalty?
I know Shep. He doesn't. The only reason it's like people have different views of me, but he has. As far as I can tell, he's got 2 hands on the ball. I can't see the other side. He's got 2 hands on, and that's what's really good. Like, he hasn't connected with him, but that's 2 hands on the ball. But Paddy's absolutely fuming. I thought he's going to get himself sent off, but it's little things like that give you that wee advantage in the game. But we just didn't take it. We're just not. We didn't take advantage of Moylan's miss. We didn't take advantage of that. Tolka is running Andrew Quinn all night. He's gone round him. How many times has he gone round him tonight and just reduced? There's nobody there. There's nobody in the box. Nothing. Yeah.
So we go and we miss a penalty. They go down the other end, and we have that Paddy Barrett goal chalked off. But with it, like you just said, with the extra man, even in the first half, just taking the first half, like, we still didn't create enough chances for what we had. Like, you're probably looking at the Davis one that was tipped over, and the save from Cairns right at the end of the first half. But that's really it. And that was a similar pattern we seen with the Derry match as well. We're just not creating enough opportunities. We seem to be happy to pass it from front to middle and go left and right, but we're just missing a bit of penetration somewhere. And one thing I did notice from Tulloch, in particular in the first half, he was much better in the second half with it, and I wonder, was it something Skip said to him? And Robbie Benson received the ball twice in the first half, and they were cagey. They were a little bit rattled. It wasn't too long after the Paddy Barrett goal was chalked off, and Robbie receives the ball. He moves up the left-hand side, and Tulloch comes towards him. You can see Robbie saying, "Go into the bloody space." Like, be on the last defender and pull them away. Either I'll take the space or I'll give it into your feet and you run at the defender. But he's coming towards the ball. It's just something he's going to have to work on his game, because we see, Dickie Kelly on his day in particular. Like, he loves a slide rule passing, and he's running onto that. And he knows he's going to beat any defender if it's a straight run at them. But, if you're a winger and you're a tricky winger like he is, don't come to the ball. Let the ball come to you. Use the space on the pitch. We're a man up on this. We're playing into what Damien Duff would have wanted. And he would have said to them, we're a man down. Let's just get compact and frustrate. And it completely did that to us. They let us pass it back and forth, but as soon as we tried to get any sort of penetration, he shut it down as quick as they could. Like I said, the rest of the half was all, tactics to just kill a bit of time and kill any momentum, and it worked perfectly. But, when we haven't got an out-and-out right winger, the other side, the only winger we really had, a straightforward winger, was Tulloch, and I see him coming short for a ball. I'm like, no, wide. Like, we seen that in the second half. Then he was wide, he was sticking in the corner, and we were having joy after joy after joy from it. He's unlucky with the ball, that comes back after the post. We'll talk about in a second. But, by getting into those areas, there's a lot more from him, and that's what I'd love to see. There's no need for him to come short. As a winger, and you're a man up, push them back, because the further he's up the pitch, the more space it is. Like, we ended up, we were, like you just mentioned, we were wondering what we do with this back line, but the sending off kind of fixed that for us. We could go 3 at the back and free up Robbie Benson a lot more, but we never got fully to utilize that, because I don't think we used the space on the pitch well enough in the first half to our advantage. And like I say, cagey first half, you could say, but I would say Damien Duff was delighted with it, played right into the way he would have wanted that to go.
Yeah.
Just get in 0-0 at half time and reassess everything.
Yeah. And the thing about Tulloch, like you were saying there, players like that have got to be played in behind. And Ryan O'Kane was similar. But if you take Tulloch tonight, once he got in behind Andrew Quinn, he was occupying Paddy Barrett. So he was occupying 2 or 3, maybe not physically, but the lads were looking at him. They were that exhausted looking at him. It should have freed up the likes of a Keith Ward. Alfie Lewis at the start of the game, I thought it was going to work really well. Malley had dropped deep for the ball.
Yeah.
And he was dipping it left and right. But Alfie Lewis was getting forward. Now, when I said it early on, it was really early on, 10, 12 minutes, and then just seemed to revert back to what he's been doing over the last couple of weeks. I think Alfie Lewis has got to play up there, because if Tulloch's, like you rightly say, if Tulloch's going in behind, Alfie Lewis or Keith Ward coming steaming onto a ball there is exactly what you're looking for. What Tulloch was doing was occupying. Paddy Barrett mightn't have chased him down, but he was definitely occupying his head. Like Paddy was looking around all the time. Upon the same. They were just really wary of him. And even you'd mentioned, I know we'd probably talk about it in the second half, but there was a corner in the second half. And just to show how Tulloch shouldn't be coming short, he came short for a corner on the edge of the box. And he must have took 47 touches out of it. It's like he didn't know what to do with it, because he's a winger. It was like he just didn't know what to be at with it. It just needed somebody to deliver it in. Yeah. And that's a perfect example of this man needs to get in behind defenders all the time, because he is pure speed, and we just didn't utilise that at all. I seen somebody had mentioned Tulloch and Davis. I thought Archie Davis probably played his best game of the season tonight. I know I hounded him early doors, but I thought he had a really good game tonight. But we just didn't seem to. It's not that we were out of ideas. It's just, it's probably something we probably didn't use that extra man. But Shelbourne were excellent. I mean, Shelbourne were really. That's as good as they'll get.
Very well disciplined.
Really? Like Duff will be delighted with that, and that's probably what they've been trained. Like, no matter what the lineup is for Dundalk, to have an extra man, like if you jumped into that game and not knowing it was a red card, you wouldn't be counting the players. You would never be playing against 10 players, and that's the worrying thing for us. And it doesn't help. We keep saying it. It doesn't help the run that we're in, because everything that they do or that they don't do is now magnified, and we're scrutinising it more because we can't get these results over the line. And it's just another frustrating night is probably the way of putting it. It's really, you come away with a win. You've got your 1-1 result, Chris, for our little top of the table. That's the most disappointing thing about tonight. But it's just it's so frustrating to go up, and like the pitch looked like it was there for us to play on. That was a really good setup tonight, really good pitch. We looked really well played, but like even simple passes, like Alfie Lewis tonight. I don't know how many passes he had tonight. He might have hit 5 of them. Early on, I thought this is going to be great. He's playing higher up the pitch. Himself and Ward, Malley and deep. This is the way. Because I said this a couple of weeks, I think that could be a way of going later on. Because when he was at Pats, he did play higher up the field. Yeah. But I just thought, no, it just never. And I still worry about using John Martin. He's a great option to have, but I don't know. Like, I'd like to see the stats. I don't know how many touches of a ball he had tonight or how much impact, but it just doesn't seem to work. It just doesn't seem to work. I don't believe.
I just don't think it works as a focal point in the attack.
Yeah,
I think he's better. Like, we've seen him arrive late into the box for headers and stuff like that before. I think that's probably more of a strength from him coming in off a wing and finishing like that, or. Like, we've seen him aerial duels when probably, defenses are stretched a little bit, and he's come on as a substitute, and he's had a massive impact for us. But from starting, and in saying that, for John Martin, in his defence, we are comparing him to Pat Hubin.
Of course,
which is unfair as well.
Yeah, of course.
I think that's the other side of it.
The player that was probably needed tonight was standing up in the gantry, Dave McMillan. I mean, I said this a couple of weeks ago, but Dave McMillan plays tonight.
That's going to say I wasn't working tonight.
That's the payoff game. That's the payoff a game for him, or that type of footballer. That type of player. Yeah. Tulloch down the line, getting the ball in, and just somebody on the end. Look, I'm more annoyed on behalf of John more than that, because I would be a big fan of him. Like, he talked.
And I think I'm annoyed as well, because he's been given these chances, and it just hasn't worked out. And we've seen him come on as an impact, and he's done really, really well. And you're kind of thinking, could you start him? And unfortunately, it just hasn't worked out, because one thing or another, we've had so many other injuries around that he probably hasn't played up front with the strongest 10 behind him. Then so it's unfair, but it's look, it's another frustrating night for him.
Just read that stat there. Is that the right stat from Shane Cale? That is a mental stat.
Well, I was literally going to get into. So we're into the second half, and we go out with the same team for the second half, Gally, at 0-0. Should we have made some changes because we're only 5-10 minutes into the second half, and Ryan O'Kane comes on to try to get a bit of width in. Ryan over to the right again. We've seen that a few times. Probably not his strongest position, but he does. At least he is hugging the touchline and stretching a bit. We did get a bit of that from him. Straight after that, it's your moment. Then the Maddie Smith 1-on-1. That goes in, like, we're for all the possession and everything else we have, that goes in, like you say, and it's, you know, you could easily have said that Shell's probably deserved to go ahead at that stage before the penalty,
and that's why
they were staying in the game.
Yeah, that's what they'll be absolutely kicking themselves, because they probably had. I know we've hit the post and Archie Davis laid on striking. We've obviously scored, but their chances, they probably had as good, if not better, than the chance that we've had. And they'll be disappointed. You know, they'll be delighted to get out of it at a 10-man game with a draw, a score draw in particular. But, you know, when they've had the lead, they probably could have been 2-0 up. They'll be definitely disappointed over, because it never looked like for 1 second we had an extra man. We just never made it. It's not that we made it easy for them. They just made it very difficult for us. I mean, there's no getting away with it. They were absolutely top class. I mean, the forward to back. I mean, Andrew Quinn, I don't know where he knows. Like, I seen him play in Oriel Park a couple of years where he played a CDM role. It was actually himself and Flores playing. It was Flores' first game. Flores had a shocker. I was like, where did this one come from? But Andrew Quinn
played on the right once or twice from us with injuries as well.
So I was surprised he was even playing right full tonight. But like, you know, they had a really solid game. I know Tulloch's running right at ragged, but Tulloch will do that to most right backs in the league. But yeah, look at those chances. You know, Manny Smith's hair is incredible. I said in the chat, that's a 12th man he has there, that boy. That's strip line, that hair.
You're loving that tonight.
Somebody put a bit of gel in it. But he had a really gilt-edged shot, really. They'll kick themselves over and little things like that. But that's what, like, we're not getting those chances. Do you know what I mean? Like, look at the ball into the box. Yeah, like the key, like Leahy's come in with a ball there for Maddie Smith. We're not creating those chances. Tulloch's running down, but there's nobody there, nobody coming in. We're not drilling the ball in. Like, you know, I'm probably going off topic here, but even like Archie Davis's cross, how much air was he getting under them crosses? It was just.
Don't worry, I have that marked in.
Just frightening. So.
But it gives defenses, like, you know, you don't want to be hanging a ball up in the air.
No.
When you Paddy Barrett in defence.
Paddy Barrett. You can't be at that.
Between Colin Kearns and Paddy Barrett, that is bread and butter for them lads.
Yeah.
Balls, quick balls on the floor, in behind them. That's not their strong point. You know, we've seen it plenty of times when Paddy was at Oriel Park. When Paddy has to backpedal and there's a pacey player in behind him, you know, we've seen him give away silly fouls and stuff. But if you're going to hang up balls and allow him to challenge in the air, he's going to love that all day long. That's
exactly, that's Paddy Barrett's game. We saw it late in the second half. Like, that is it, bread and butter to that. Like, you just can't play. You got to drill them across, because we said it before. I remember talking about Paddy, and we were talking about Dan Cleary and Sam Bone over the years. They have that little bit of an erratic streak in them. And they need the ball to zip across their feet, because they will, you know, if you get it into it, they will make a mistake. But anything in the air, forget it. That's why Pat Hubin tonight would have went up against him and gave him a game. But, you know, unfortunately, John just wasn't there. Keith Walter couldn't have jump anybody. Tulloch, tall enough, but again, not getting into the box quick enough for the crosses to create anything. And yeah, the Paddy and the keeper in particular just had. You know, I wouldn't be giving man of the match away to an away player, but I mean, he had a cracking game. Really, that's the first time I've really watched him play. Really solid. But again, bread and butter stuff coming out, taking anybody in its wake. You know, you can't give up chances like that.
No, definitely not. Just there's a few people coming in with their man of the match nominations tonight, so just keep that coming, and we will pick our Tony's Pizzeria man of the match competition later on. Their penalty, Gally, very soft, if you ask me. Like, Tulloch comes across the player backs into him and then throws himself down on the ground. But come here, if you're down to 10 men, you've done this for nearly an hour. You're going to just absolutely do whatever it takes and let the referee make a decision on this.
Yeah.
And it looked to me like a real soft one. Like Tulloch was kicking himself over it but now if it was down the other end, Tulloch probably would have done the exact same also. But it's very, very soft. And soon as they won that, I went, oh no, this is definitely going in. This is the nightmare scenario for us. They've already been bedded in for nearly an hour. They've got the pace of this game down to an absolute snail's pace, and now they have a penalty and a chance to go 1-0 up. This is into the hands of Damien Duff, isn't it?
And that gives them that second wind of snail's pace, because they're thinking, right, we're going to go on. Like, there was no doubt in my mind they're going to score there. I don't think anybody was in doubt in the Tolka Park that they weren't. Like, it was nailed on. There's nothing sure all season that they're going to score that penalty, and it was a really well struck penalty. But it's soft as soft can be. Like, but at the same time, like you were saying, you don't give when you get that close to a player. Look, the replay shows really obvious that it's not. But when you get that close to a player in real time, you can't allow a referee to have to make a decision like that. Like, and the thing was, I don't remember the build up just in the run, but he's going away. He's going out of the box, not out of the box, but he's going away the other way. So he was
going away from goal.
Nine times out of 10,
probably going towards more the corner flag.
Yeah, that's it. When somebody steps across you 9 times out of 10 in the box and they go down, with the exception of VAR, it's going to be a penalty. Like, the ref's going to give it. We can argue with referees, but I mean, all refs in the league will probably give a penalty there. Now from the telly, I think it was very soft. It's look. Do you get it early in the first half? Probably not. I mean, if that's the other way around and that's our time for that, it's probably not given. But once he gave all one, you're kind of it's in in two minds then. But it's very, very soft for me. Very, very soft. I didn't. But then again, Tulloch's not that. If Leahy's going against him, does Leahy do it? Leahy probably fancy himself. Maybe Tulloch's not that defensive minded. So Tulloch definitely has the pace if the ball gets by him, but he's not defense minded. So whether you're looking at Robbie Benson or Darragh Leahy comes in and will do the same thing, I don't know. But then again, do the same thing. He hasn't touched him. You managed to step across him, and he's just done exactly what any Dundalk player we would want any Dundalk player to do in that situation. Get your penalty, and look. It was never in doubt. Great penalty. There was no doubt.
Does it say something about maybe we're a touch soft? I don't like teams doing it, but we didn't surround the referee to make him think about it or anything. Like, it was just given against us. Our heads went down.
It was the opposite of the Shells one. Yeah, Shells had hounded him. After he gave it, after he gave an hour, Shells had hounded him. We didn't. We just kind of said, yeah, look, it was like, sure, that's our luck. Yeah, that's
that's what I felt about it.
Yeah.
We're trying to get back in the game, and in our group journal, I was calling for Hooben to come in. He gets his chance then on the 70-minute mark, but it's Conor Malley comes off. We've talked about different combinations in the middle there, and between him and Alfie Lewis, I thought Conor Malley was playing the better. His distribution was better as well. He seemed to be having a better match. Was it a strange one he took him off? It doesn't seem to be the only ones to think that there. Daisy McEnany there with the same sort of thing. He wondered, was it the right call as well?
Yeah, no, I'd agree. I would agree with everything there. Now over the last couple of weeks, Malley hasn't been great, and he wasn't fantastic tonight either. But I do think,
but he was probably better of the two central.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I found it really. I mean, what Skip's probably thinking. Alfie Lewis, he had Alfie Lewis at Pats. He knows what he can get out of him. But the problem is Alfie Lewis hasn't hit the ground running at all this season.
No.
He's probably playing as many.
We have seen him come on better as a substitute.
Absolutely, yeah. And he, in fairness to him, he's playing that role because Paul Doyle's not there. Paul Doyle would normally have that role sewn up. And you almost forget Paul Doyle plays for us.
It's great to see him back tonight.
Oh, fantastic. But hopefully that's the start of players getting back in. But yeah, Malley going off. I don't want to be calling anybody, but definitely for me on tonight's game, I think it's the wrong call. I found it really strange. I thought he might have an injury. I thought he might be a bit of a niggle, and that was the problem. But for the substitution, and it'd be different was the last 10 minutes. I just found it was not an odd decision. Like, you want to cheer, kind of change it up a little bit. But for me, Lewis would have been the one to come off. I just felt Lewis played a lot of minutes over the last couple of weeks, and I just thought, I just thought Mali could have dropped in there, and you could have let someone else free a little bit. And I would have liked to see Ryan O'Kane even in the centre. I know he's come on to play the wing, but just to give it a little bit of something. There was nothing really going.
The only thing with Mali is I just think Mali has a good range of passing, and really, like in the second half, players who probably stepped up for me. Tulloch had a much better second half than he did first half. Wardy got that energy going, and you could see him. He wanted to be everywhere. Wardy, he wanted to be that driving force behind us. Probably like we've seen in the second half of the Derry match, where Wardy really took off. It was vintage Wardy back then, and I think Wardy was nearly getting frustrated that other players didn't seem to raise their game like that to get in. And I just wonder if you get the energy of Wardy and then the range of passing from Mali, might that have worked out better? After the substitution, when Hoopin comes on, it still takes us, a good 5 minutes, really, for the next big chance to come. It's not instantaneous. And of course, that's Robbie Benson's one off the post, which I thought had gone in.
I
thought that, Tulloch's chance straight after had gone in then as well. Tulloch also missed a chance like that. Was it Derry match as well? Just the same sort of coming in late on the ball when it's bouncing around and just puts it the wrong side of the post. There are other chances like that, Gally, that on a night like that, when they see Hoopin come on, if we score that gives us, 15 minutes to get back into the game for looking for a winner. There's plenty of time.
Yeah, and again, like you said, Hoopin coming on, it should scare the life out of them. I mean, obviously, you would prefer them to start, but the fact that we're still in the game, Hoopin coming on, like even when we equalised, I thought I even put out a tweet. I don't tweet too much during the game, but I said we're going to win this. I said, right, more than because I just thought, right, with the players we have on now, with the exception of maybe Mali, I thought, right, they're going to go for this. And look, we've hit the post late on, and Archie Davis has come down the wing very late on, and the referee's just blown the whistle after. But there's a bit of I think there's an argument for a free kick there, just at the very last kick of the ball. But I just felt like there was that little buzz about, like, when Pat Hoopin comes onto the field, everybody's got to get a lift. And the idea of Pat Hoopin coming on is that the defenders, the centre half, should be absolutely mentally fatigued after that game. And what you don't want to see is the number 9 coming across the field. And of course, I don't know whether they felt that tonight. One or two, it's kind of scuff chance. He had a head up pretty much from the little bit of a head up, very, very faint touch. But if he's probably another yard ahead of himself, it probably hits the target. It just drifts a little bit wide. But that's the difference, without those little those little half chances, we weren't getting them. There was nobody on the end of them early on in the first half, or even middle of the second half. So Pat comes straight on and got stuck into the game, and it's given the lads a bit of a run. But again, like you'd said, Wardy, it's great to see Wardy start matches, but towards the end of the game, that's when Mali, I think, would have come in. I think if they had left Mali on, they probably would have been taking Wardy off. To bring, like, Mali, for me, not the cliche, but when the going got tough there in midfield, I think Mali's a better player. But the problem is that I think Stephen O'Donnell has seen, because he had Alfie at Pats. Yeah, he knows what he can do.
And last year,
but like I said, he's just not producing it. And I don't know whether you can risk that again. Like, if that happened next week, Lewis has got to come off. Mali, you got to let Mali dictate the play for for the last, whatever it is, 12 minutes.
Yeah.
But I just think that, look, it's
well, the Benson chance is big.
Stat,
the Benson chance is big. That hits the post. Tulloch missed, and then Tulloch has his own one. Only 2-3 minutes later, Kieran saves at his near post. It's like there's two big chances in the space of 3 minutes, and this is still before Tulloch's equaliser. Yeah. So we're talking about impact and taking these opportunities. When we finally did turn the screw, I think the gaps were there, but I think it just took the likes of Tulloch being further up the pitch, Wardy getting on the ball, and really driving, pulling, running at players, running across the pitch to open up the pitch. I think that started to finally do it. And it was a shame. Like, we're talking about 75th minute, 78th minute here. We should have been doing this, 45th minute. Start the second half. This is exactly how we should have been playing. We should have been starting to pull and starting to stretch them straight away. And you take those big chances. We're talking, we've hit a post, we've put one wide after that, then Tulloch gets one saved. We have another one from, I think it was Archie Davis, just fizz wise. I thought was in as well. With big chances that they're not going for us right now.
Yeah.
Whereas bad luck or something else, but you got to take them. And don't get me wrong, Tulloch took his goal well when it did arrive, but we gotta be more ruthless in a game like tonight, where they're bedding themselves in. If we get big chances like that, we got to take them. Yeah,
and you've got to also use their missed chances as motivation as well. You got to say, right, we've given them enough now. We can't give them any more. They've missed the chip early in the second half. We've missed the penalty. That second half, like you said, this should have been added from the word go. And it's not that they weren't at it. I still look. They weren't great coming out of the second half, but Shelbourne at the same time didn't allow them to play. And that's I don't want to be thinking that we should have steamrolled. We really should. We don't right to, because Shelbourne played really well, but we've got to think of something else. We've got to think of a more direct type of play. Like I was talking to my father at him. He says it since Kenny was there. Sometimes they play too much football. Sometimes it just calls, let's get the ball down and send it into the box and see what happens. Eventually somebody's going to get onto the end of something. It's not great to watch, but when you're down where we are, like I think are we 7th, 8th now at the minute, 13 points. You're
6th, I think, is it?
Yeah, it's 6th, I'm being generous. But it's plan B, plan C, it's got to come out. Like you had mentioned earlier on about Tulloch not getting in behind. That there's nothing wrong with Tulloch, definitely up there for man of the match. But the problem was there's nobody in the box. There's no outlet for him. He can't. He's passable. There's nobody there. So you got to think. Is that
not how his goal comes about though? Like he cuts in and he tries to open his body up to see if there's a pass, and he just realized there's nothing on. And there's 1, 2, 3 players
he got completely
in front
sick.
of Conor Cairns. He knows if he bends the ball around, he can't see it till late again. So he might as well have a go.
Yeah, that's it. And he's probably looked up and said, right, I'm not doing this again. I need to take this on, because he probably didn't take on enough. And in fairness to him, he probably doesn't take on enough shots in general. For the amount of time that he gets on the ball. And Ryan O'Kane will probably be guilty of that as well during last season. But it's like we can take heart from the fact that when I honestly think when Tulloch's playing and Ryan O'Kane can play on the right hand side as well. I know we're getting a wee bit off topic here, but they need to find a way of utilising those two at the same time, because they haven't done that yet. We can't seem to get. I thought last week when we were at Oriel Park, I thought, right, we're going to get to see these two boys down the wing at the same time, and it just never happened. Ryan O'Kane never got into the game, but if that's going to work, they shouldn't be playing for each other. They should be able to play it on the same 11 at the same time. I know Dan Kelly's got to come back in as well, but little things like that we have to get right, because like we're going to be cut adrift here very quickly. Like if you've got Paul Doyle coming back, and you've like even if you go back to the stat, I think it was Shane Kerr about Eli Coco, 9 touches of a ball.
Yeah,
like for a player in his role is absolutely like if I played tonight, I think I might have got 9 touches of a ball. Like that's incredible. I knew he wasn't at the races, but I think it was that bad. I'll have to get James. We'll have to get James Rogers to verify that. But that's like that. That just sums it up. Everything was down the wing. Nothing coming into midfield. Like a midfielder getting 9 touches of a ball.
I think the sad thing is there though, with it sending off, you'd like to think someone like Johannes there could get on the ball and would want to try to dribble with it, try to create the space. Like it's
the perfect time for a player like that, a playmaker in midfield.
And unfortunately, the way the game panned out tonight, you were calling for a Greg Sloggett. Because we've just said sometimes Greg gets on the ball and he looks up and he's like, do you know what, I'm going to drive with this. And when he drives with the ball, it brings the rest of the guys with him. And he just breaks 1 or 2 tackles, and that, can be the catalyst for us to kick on. And I think that's what was missing. Like I said, we felt in the last 10, 15 minutes when Wardy started to do that, we actually started taking over, and suddenly there's space there for Benson. We obviously get Tulloch's goal. He has big chances before that then as well. We start creating it when we actually drived at them. because they're also thinking, well, the players are, we've already have a player sent off here already. We can't afford a second. So I'll just let this player go past me sometimes and, try to redirect them away from goal or, to a safer area. And we just didn't do that enough tonight. When we did it, and we done it late in the game when their legs were getting tired, but we just didn't do it often enough for me tonight.
No, and even tired legs, like they had put themselves in perfect positions that many times during the game. They knew where to be, regardless of tiredness, because we'd done it all game and we couldn't penetrate them at all. They just knew what to be at. It's all up in their head. It played right. We played right into their hands, and that's the frustrating thing. Like you forget we've come away with a 1-1 draw tonight. That's but
this reminds me though, Gally, of last week when myself and Niall Newbury were here. Is kind of a similar tone. We've come out with a draw, but it feels like a defeat somewhat because there was a chance for us to win it with the penalty that wasn't given. And here it's different, but it's similar vibe in a sense that we've come away with a draw. From Skip's point of view, he's probably thinking it's 2 games. We've come out undefeated. We scored 3 goals. There's positives to take from this as well. Tulloch's now got 4 this year. Really emerging into a good player. But at the same time, there's 2 games that we had opportunities to win and we didn't take them. Yeah. You were talking about, about the Stephen County era. During that era, we were ruthless. Yeah. and we put teams to bed, or we hung in there long enough that eventually we just wore teams down and we got, 95th minute winners and stuff like that. And teams knew that you had to go. You don't stop at the 90th minute with Dundalk. You had to keep going all the way through. I know you could say, look, we've got big chances tonight. We should have had a penalty against Derry. We could be looking at potential 6 points, but we're not. We're only looking at 2 points, and it's 4 points dropped from those 2 games. And that's the disappointing thing. In a game, we're going to show the league table now later on. In a league that's so congested, every point counts right now because there's nothing given. We only just finished the first round of games there recently. We're only just 2 games into the second round on this. It's just about chalking up points, isn't it?
Yeah, that's
keep yourself in there, and you never know what will happen because somebody will go on a good run. Yeah. Somebody will. I suppose you even look at Pats the start of the year, terrible start, couldn't win anything right up to tonight. In their last 5 games, I think they had 4 wins and a draw. So sometimes you need to hang in there and build something and go from it. We started, not well. The UCD game, you'd say it was a touch poor. Then we got the 2 results. We're thinking, okay, we got something here. Then that run of defeats really has knocked a bit of confidence out of this team. And I think that's what's missing is a bit of confidence in this team. And perhaps 1 or 2 players, whether these are the new guys or just the fact that maybe it's taken a wee while to bed in. But there's it's like people are scared just to step up, just to have that little bit of courage to say, well, hang on, lads, I'm better than what we're currently producing here. Give me the ball here. I think I can really change something in this game. And just like we've seen it with I think last year when we seen the likes of Stephen Bradley come in and, everything just went in for him at the start. Yeah. There became a fear factor around Dundalk very, very quickly. And then, you could say teams caught on to Bradley and, his scoring record fell off. But then goals started coming from elsewhere in the team. And we didn't have these big injuries. So between injuries and big players missing, like we were talking at the start, Boyle, Sloggett, missing out of that team. Pat Hooban only to come off the bench. Paul Doyle, who's been playing so well, only coming off the bench. Ryan O'Kane, who had been playing so well right up to this season. We just can't get going. We just cannot get going. And then it comes to a game like we've seen over the past 2, where we've presented with opportunities to win the game, and we just don't seem to be able to find a way to win.
Yeah,
and that has to be frustrating for Skip.
And he's
probably looking, going, I changed formations, I changed teams, I've put people in, and I've had to ask people to fill in, like Robbie Benson filling in like you say, in an unorthodox position tonight, but he'll do it no problem. Skip's just probably dying for a time just to have a fully fit squad to just go and have his best chance to win a match. And he's just like, we're not getting that look. But at the same time, you got to make your own luck.
That's it.
And I think we've got to look for other players just to step up.
Yeah, and like, it's not like you've brought in, like, even if we talk about Robbie Benson playing left back, it's not like they've brought in random people. Like, right, lads, go in and do a job, kind of fill a gap. These lads have been training all season. They might not play as many minutes, but like, we were talking there about, like, the league is even that congested. These lads need to step in now, because what's happened this season that probably hasn't happened for a couple of seasons, you've got a team like Bohemians, who have jumped. Like, if you'd said at the start of the season, you're probably talking Shamrock Rovers, Derry. We are probably cheeky enough to think us, St. Pat's, and then maybe Shell's, Bows. But now you've got Bows at the top. So that creates this domino effect of somebody's in the wrong spot. And unfortunately, it's us. And if you're not going to pick up points, you're going to stay there. You've got this Tetris effect of they're just hammering the life out of you, because Bows have gone in and unexpectedly sat at the top. They've displaced the likes of Rovers. So Rovers and Derry are further down than you think. Pats are further down than you think. And we're way down. And that's, if you can't keep up with the likes of Bows, like, we thought Declan Devine got the job. They were like, oh, well, it's, he might get it for a year. Look, best luck. But he's done, they've won again tonight. He's done an unbelievable job. And it's just coincided with us not producing what we're meant to produce, what we're trained for, what these boys were brought in for. And it looks, I was going to say it looks 10 times worse than it is. It's actually not. It really doesn't. It's as bad as it's as bad as it should be, because when you get a team like that, upsetting the odds, probably somebody's got to fall down the ladder, and it's us. And we're in a real, I won't say we're in a battle, but I mean, we're now, like you had said, we're now into the second round of games. We know what we're dealing with. Unfortunately, Stephen just can't get, it's not that he can't get his best out. He hasn't had them for a couple of weeks, but every team in the league is going okay. Derry have had a couple of injuries, but when it comes to injuries and nobody's probably suffered as much as us. No, look, we can talk about the reasons for that. Well documented last week, pitch, blah blah blah. But at the end of it, that's what a squad's for. And this is what's, you're going to get hammered on the players you sign. And if these lads aren't stepping up, I don't think we're not a world away from it. It's not like we're being absolutely pummeled. Like, Rovers give us a hell of a beat in a couple of weeks.
So we're talking about difference of turning draws into wins, though.
Yeah, and that we're not that far. And it's just, we can talk about individuals. Pat Hooban, till the cows come home, needs to be playing, and you're missing him. It's like we're playing with 10, but these lads need to look at the game tonight and say, look, we need to improve a little. In the middle of the park, they've got to be better. Like, Tulloch can only do so much outright. Archie Davis has done great, Marauder and there from the right back, but the stat from Millie Coke was frightening. That's probably going to be the highlight of the night for me. I can't believe that. That's an absolutely atrocious stat. Like, Nathan Shepherd had more touch of the ball than that. But when you're under the cosh, when you're under that bit of pressure, players have to step up. And at the minute, they're not stepping up. Tonight they did do better. In fairness, there was one or two that were excellent. But Shelbourne, we have to give all the credit to Shelbourne here. They've come out with 10 men and they haven't given us a sniff. And any chances we did get, the ones they've missed should have played into our hand. We should have took advantage of it. And then when we did get them, we didn't take them. And that's what happens when your luck is down. When you're on a bad run like that, these are games that you're not going to get. You're not going to get anything out of, and it's just going to look 10 times worse than it is on the result of the night. It's a 1-1 draw. The funny thing is, you probably would have took a 1-1 draw before the game started.
I would have took it at the start, but when you think of the early sending off and your extra man advantage throughout and the penalty,
and that's where your Bows, your Rovers, your Derry cities would take advantage. You go down 10 men against any of them, they will absolutely hammer you. Yeah. And that's the difference.
Yeah. Well, I suppose, look, we'll come to our man in a match competition now. To be fair, the majority of people are probably only gone one way. One or two names outside of what you'd think. I mean, who impressed you tonight? And I presume, with Tulloch getting the goal, having probably created the best chances and stuff like that, won the penalty initially. It's probably one of his better performances, in particular in the second half. But who stood out for you tonight?
Yeah, I mean, the obvious one is Tulloch. I mean, I think that goes without saying. I actually thought Archie Davis was really, really good. I thought, look at these. Some of his crosses are a bit airborne. Is probably the best way of putting it. But I think his energy is up. He's a proper. I didn't rate him at all. I thought Muller is definitely a better right back. But tonight I thought he was very good. There was a shout from actually Keith Ward there. I thought Keith Ward probably went under the radar a little bit. I think if Mali stays on, I think he might have even changed the game later on, but there's only there's very select. I mean, in order you're talking Wardy Davis. For me, anyway, Tulloch, I don't see anybody past him. I think he was a thorn, and Andrew Quinn had a nightmare. Not a nightmare. He had a good game, but Tulloch ran him ragged tonight. We probably just didn't utilize his ability enough because, like you rightly said earlier on, he was getting in behind players, long balls all the time. That's all we had to do, and he was cutting in, and there was nobody there. And it's frightening to think, I think Darren Meehan might have commented. I don't know if Darren Meehan or Meehan, but we talked about that assist. His assist would be so much higher if there was somebody on the end of the ball. It's frightening that we couldn't utilize that pace and that ability that he has to cut inside. And for me, I think for me, man of the match. Apart from the Shells goalkeeper, which I think we've given away a man of the match once before, an away player. We're not doing that again, but Tulloch,
I think that was the 5-0 defeat, though.
Honourable mention for Archie Davis. Ray and Tulloch for me, absolutely.
Look, I'd be kind of the same milk on this then as well. I think that's, in particular, Tulloch really stepped up second half. I'd like to see him a little more ruthless at times then as well. For it, but look, he's definitely in the ballpark for a level of performance that you'd like him to be able to be consistent with going forward. Of course, we do have Drogheda next, and they don't like tackling him, so that's a good omen as well. So I suppose when we look for our Tony's Pizzeria Man in a Match competition,
it'll be a busy look.
Yeah. Look, there's most of them tonight. It's all for Tulloch. There is Wardy, like I said. Shane Kerr had mentioned Tulloch and Davis tonight. Both those players. Look, we at random there, we just picked Johnny there, I think, for our man in the match. So congratulations, Johnny. You are a winner of our Tony's Pizzeria 15-inch pizza man in the match competition. So congratulations to you. Get on to Vinny there, and you can have a pizza this week. Has to be within the week. So before the drugs match, if you can, we can sort that. Gally, I just see Frank Carolan's message there. Frank, don't be coming on here with all the sense, okay? Don't be talking sense with the bookings, okay? We don't buy that. Worry about bookings later on. We've another week now, right the way up to looking at the next Loud Derby. First one in Oriel Park. They'll probably be looking for revenge over the way
they'll fancy it. They'll fancy it as well
in Weavers Park. Yeah, look. From our own point of view, it's so far out. Even when we put the podcast, the audio version out now, Spotify allowed you to do a poll on it, and I stuck in, do you start Pat Hooban tonight? And it was like 100% yes, you start Pat Hooban. He doesn't start, so it's very hard this early to be calling a team and a lineup for that. But we've got to go strong on this, because we've seen times that Drogheda dig in and have picked us off in Oriel Park before. So, you don't want to repeat that. We've been very lucky twice, I think, when we played them last year. They were hit with bad injuries and suspensions as well. They could come strong at us. Like Skip's point of view, you don't want to be looking at another draw here. You've got to start turning these into 3 points. Is the pressure on us?
100%. 100%. I think all the pressure for the next probably. I mean, UCD, I think, after that. So the next 2 or 3 pressure's on. Pressure's everywhere. It's on them all players. But for the next couple of weeks, absolutely. I mean, it could be. It's probably the payoff of game in a way. Loud Derby, Oriel Park, especially what happened the last time. It's a question now. Do they go big or go home? Does Pat Hooban's got to start? Got to start. You know, I don't know whether Paul Doyle, what his match fitness is like. You know, we don't know who's ready to come back in. We've seen Greg walking the other night, but you know, he's just gone over, not as bad as top. But regardless of him even starting, Pat Hooben's got us. I think Pat Hooben alone makes that little bit of difference. That player dropping in gives an outlet to the lads in the wing. I think it could be ideal for Tulloch. I really think if Pat Hooben's playing, I think it allows Tulloch to win.
If you had McCourt back, would you be tempted to move Muller out to the right and maybe play Davis further up, considering we haven't got
considering it's not really like, for some reason Ryan O'Kane's not getting a run at it, and I think Archie Davis tonight done himself no harm going forward. He definitely done himself no harm whatsoever. I still think Muller as a defensive player is better, but yeah, Archie Davis could be an option. Yeah, Flano's right. I mean, like, there's never been a need for Pat Hooben now. And like we've been in this shit over the last couple of seasons. But I mean, the game that's in it, I mean, even if you're going to UCD, we're going to need him. You know, like, it was a random.
Well, listen, every game you're
Leinster Cup game, but he's got to start. He's got to. Even if you're saying, right, Pat, go out and give us 45 minutes and we'll take you off at half time. If that's what it takes. But I don't think this coming on, bringing him on, I don't like. There's players who are better off the bench, absolutely.
Especially in a low derby like that, because you know Kevin will have the other, you know, the boys well drilled. You can't give them an inch on this. That, you know, if you're not, I think if you don't start strong there, I'd be worried that if you allow Drogheda to stay in the game, like we've seen it so many times last year, once Drogheda was given a chance to stay in a game, they find a way of getting something out of that game. Yeah. And the other times, if they were, you know, put out of it early enough, that seemed to be, you know, them in the game. We just, so far this year, just don't find a way of killing teams. And that'd be my. You've got to be ruthless. You've got to be, you know, like, and it doesn't matter. We're at the stage where it doesn't matter how to play. I don't care possession. It's goals. It's getting goals, getting 3 points on the board. And Pat Hooben is vital for that. It's obvious that he's vital for that, because we can't. He's probably as influential as Gary Deegan is the other side.
Absolutely.
And you know, Dale Rooney. You know, they've got plenty of firepower in there, and that'd be your fear, wouldn't it? That they if you allow Gary Deegan to dictate the game, he will do it.
Yeah.
And that's where we need Pat to be doing the exact same. The far side is, you know, if he's there and he's pulling defenders left, right, and center and creating space elsewhere, because we still really haven't seen the benefits. And you know, we've seen this a lot for Ryan O'Kane last year, was when Pat came in, he pulled big, strong central defenders over, that when we pinged the ball in around the back, suddenly there was space for Ryan O'Kane to get in behind. You know, Tulloch seems a more complete player. Like, you'd love to see him having that freedom in behind, because he's not getting the benefits of a Dundalk system right now, yet he still scored 4 goals. So if we could get Pat fit and consistently playing, you'd like to think he'd bring, like Flano just said there, he brings so much more around with him. And that could be the key to unlock this season for us.
Yeah, and when they signed Tulloch, they were probably thinking, right, this lad can probably link up perfectly. So when you've got that Hooben, whether it's Ryan O'Kane out right, you know, obviously Dan Kelly was probably maybe the favourite right there on the right, but that link play is so vital. Like John had said, Pat Hooben gives you so much more than just a centre forward. He comes in, he's like an attacking midfielder. I mean, it's an extra midfielder in the park, and he can come down, distribute the ball, and be back in the box. You know, and that's the difference. That's what you're going to need. You're going to need someone to absolutely run the centre halves ragged at Oriel Park
to create space.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think Tulloch, it'll be the making of Tulloch if he can play like he did tonight, with Pat Hooben playing on the right hand side of him. It'll be the making of him, I think.
Yeah, like you know, Patsy even just commenting there that he plays best receiving the balls back to goal.
And I don't want to be saying, oh well, I mean, the lads are useless, but Pat Hooben is such a key player, and I don't think, like, a Pat Hooben played in another.
But there's not another player like him in the league.
No, and if he went and played with Shamrock Rovers, they probably wouldn't miss him as much. But the way that Dundalk team is, and the way they're set up to play, it's vital that he plays. Like I keep saying, 70% of him, like you got to get him on. He's got to start games, put players under the cosh, run them ragged. So then whoever comes on, they're too tired to deal with. And that's the pair. Like all going well. That's what we're looking for next Friday night.
Yeah. Well, look, we'll have a look and see where we lie with everything here. So if we have a look at the table from ourselves here, hopefully
I just seen that comment from Flano. Thanks, John.
yeah. I don't know, Flano. I seen you play with your...
Am I the only? Who was the last Irish international to come on the podcast?
So Bows stay in the lead. Jesus, everything's falling on me here. Bows stay top of.
And this is what I was talking about. That Bows, like they're so. It's not they're so far ahead, but that little sitting at the top there, it's just a disaster for us because it just pings us a little bit down.
Well, it's funny when you look straight after Bows in 24 and Derry 19, Shamrock Rovers 18, and Pat 17. These were three teams that are apparently struggling this year.
Yeah,
and they're second, third, and fourth.
We were talking about Rovers at the start
with 2 points between them.
Yeah, the abuse, like that video of Sean Ho and the abuse that we're getting online from fans, and that just goes to show how a couple of games can change it, and that's what we're looking for. That Dundalk team are now going to have to go on a little bit of a run. I mean, it's not like we're miles off, but everybody around us is similar, and that's what we need to be watching for. It's not like we're 3 or 4 points ahead of the next person behind us. You know,
look, Shamrock Rovers is similar. The last 5 games, 4 wins and a draw. You know, that's the run you got to play. Pat's had that previously as well, and just shows where you can go back up.
The red dots for us. That means we're on fire, is it? Yeah, surely that's obviously what it is.
After that, Gally, is there just a little bit of a gap? Like if you look at Shelbourne 5th, after their point tonight, we move up to 6th, 13 points. Sligo 16 points, Drogheda 6 or 13 points, should I say? We're 13 points, Sligo 13 points, and Drogheda 13 points. Is there a little lower tier table starting to form there that you don't want to be part of?
Well, I think after next week there could be. I mean, there's
it's Sligo UCD tomorrow, isn't it?
Yeah, and if Sligo were to win,
we're all UCD fans, right?
Worst case scenario, Drogheda beat us. I mean, you've got that's the worst. That'll be the worst week in a long time. You know, since the Yanks were here. You know, Philippe with that type of thing. Because I mean, UCD and Cork, I wouldn't worry about that kind of. They've got their own wee mini thing going on there. But if results go out the wrong way for us, I mean, you're really looking at. And you got to pick, and it's UCD we're playing then, and UCD last year, we all know what happened in there last season as well. It's just a real. We're probably 2 games away from being sucked into that depths, that den of iniquity that you don't want to be in, and that's the real worrying thing. Drogheda couldn't have came at a better time, in my opinion. Now we could be sitting here next week, and Steph will come on and say couldn't have came at the worst time. But I think this is the game we want. This is the exact. I hate saying the word kickstart, but I really need to stop saying that. But this match has to be lit underneath their arse next Friday night, and this is the game for us. And if they can't get themselves up for it, they're going to be disappointed tonight. They're going to be fuming with an extra man, but they're up against a decent Shelbourne team. But they've got to hit the ground running next week, and anybody that's half fit, get them on the field.
Yeah. I suppose when you look at the others, I mean. Derry Pats, someone has to take points there. Bows will probably win at UCD, you would have thought. So that's them kind of steamrolling away again. And Shamrock Rovers, Sligo Rovers, like do you start looking for people to start doing you favours here now? Would be the real worry.
Yeah, that's I mean, we're at that stage already where we need a couple of favours. We're only, what are we, 11 games in, is it?
Yeah.
And that's really not what you want. You're just a third of the way through, and that's I don't think we're at the stage. I don't think we're at the panic button stage yet. But I mean, I said here after, I can't remember what game it was. It was about 3 games ago, and I said if we're still talking about the same shit in 3 or 4 games, and here we are. We're the next week's the 4th game. It's just. That little, like you had said, the best way to describe it is. You don't want to get into that little mini league down at the bottom. That little pocket that's there, you got to get yourself out of that. Regardless of, how high you want to go, you need to just get that little run out of the way, that little kind of what's holding them back. Couple of points on the board, you've drawn a UCD. I don't remember the third game, but draw the UCD. Nice. Like you'd probably even take 4 points, but I mean 6. You've got to be looking for 6 all the way.
Yeah,
got to be.
No, I think we've got to start. We like Skip can take the positive is 2 games unbeaten, but you've got to start getting the points on the board now. Is probably the key thing, especially with the likes of Pat back, Benson back. You kind of you're hoping that's the catalyst to really kick on and start doing something in it. Gally, we're probably at this stage now wrapping up, but you just want to do a quick little announcement. Is that right?
Yeah, we had I took over my Instagram feed a couple of nights ago. It was it's a rally. I just want to get the name right. It's rally around for Ruby, and it was sent to us on a link, but I had already shared it. Everybody was sharing it that day, and I just kind of read into it. So there's a GoFundMe page set up just to give the backstory on it. They're raising funds. It's for Ruby Casey Mulligan, and she has a rare auto. I just want to get this right before because it's a diagnosis. It's a rare auto inflammatory condition that requires constant immunosuppression. So I would like immunosuppression. I'm not on the same level, but immunosuppression. Myself and your brother-in-law John, I would know all about that kind of. I know how difficult it is. So they're looking to raise funds for medication, stuff like that. All the details are on their Facebook page. It's Rally Around Ruby. So if you can get onto the GoFundMe, we'll put the link up on the Town End podcast tonight. We'll put it up on Instagram. And we put up on Twitter as well. So if you can get on, anybody that's watching, any Town Enders, get on, have a read of it. When it comes to GoFundMe, especially there's lots of GoFundMes around, but when it's children and kids in particular, if we can get on, give them a hand. They were kind enough to get private messages, and we said we give them a shout out on the podcast. And look, if we can do it in a small way, a couple of euro, any spare change, just send it in. And you can read all the details there, and about Ruby and what it's all about. And look, any help would be really, really, really appreciated from ourselves. Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that's the one thing. Dundalk, and in particular, Dundalk FC fans are excellent at doing. We think of many initiatives over the time with Sonia and Zoe Murphy and stuff like that. They're always very good at rallying in behind the cause. And I suppose from our own point of view as well, just to say thank you. Our recent 2023 shirt shop has just closed. We reached a milestone that we were hoping to reach on that, and it's going to make sure that there's some well needed funds going back to Dundalk Village in Uganda, which is going to put a whole school through a semester. So that's all paid for, thanks to the people and the Town Enders who follow us here. So from ourselves, and I know we'll have Donald Green on in due course as well. So just from the bottom of our hearts as well. Thanks so much for everyone who was able to get on board with that. Look, Gally, I suppose we'll go again next week as they say. But a big thank you to our sponsors, to Donald Green and Dundalk Village for our overall sponsorship of the podcast, to Vinny and all the guys down in Tony's Pizzeria for our man of the match competition, and of course Player Fit, who helped with the design, Karen in particular, and for our look, I have it on this week. This one, damn it, these backwards cameras. So all the guys at Player Fit as well for helping us out with that, and I'm sure as per usual in the next few weeks we'll start to see the jerseys arrive. So look, anyone, when you do, guy, just tag us in your picture, get it up on social. Get your selfies in. Yeah, we might have a wee competition or something. Like if we maybe an extra pizza and a bag of chips for the best picture.
Well, you never know. I dipped it the Vinny today for a pizza for the kids, and he said I've ordered a few there. So I think Vinny's going to be doing his own little competition with our shirt brilliant. Over the coming weeks as well. So do keep an eye out for that, and we'll be right in behind it. Next up for ourselves is a Louth Derby, like Gally just said. It has to be, 3 points is a must in this. Let's make sure that we're still the pride of County Louth after it all. And, if we can get back in and pat amongst the goals, what a weekend that would be. Gally, thank you so much for all your chats tonight. And thank you everybody for all your interaction as well. Until next week, I suppose, come on to town.